When the President of the United States calls you names in the city of Los Angeles, that is not something that I'm going to be frightened of. Fire department budget was never cut. I will not be satisfied until every Palisadian that wants to go home is home.
After the year we've been through that devastated so much of this Southland, what sticks out to you most that this city has gone through?
Well, the fact that we have been through such a painful year, but we stood strong, we stood together, we supported each other. At the beginning with the wildfires, the way Angelenos came together and did everything they could to bring the city together and to help those that were impacted. And then as soon as we took a deep breath, you move into the immigration raids, and that haven't stopped, by the way. It might be off the headlines, but those raids do still take place on a daily basis. But we stood together, and I was very concerned that they would tear the city apart, so I was proud of Los Angeles. Last year was tough, but now this year, we have so much to look forward to.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about all of that, but many challenges in the recovery phase remain. So many survivors still don't have their homes, as you well know.
That's right.
So many of the basic services have been restored: power, debris cleanup, etc. Billions in state and federal aid lined up. What are you most proud of under your leadership that you can say, see, I really expedited recovery efforts?
Well, I'm most proud of the fact that we have approved the building of 800 homes, 400 of which are actively being constructed right now. I was in one of those homes earlier today, and they believe they will be moving in the next 5 months. And if you look at the rebuilding process, the debris removal process, the whole process, and what we accomplished in 1 year, and you compare that to other cities, other states where there have been wildfires with similar damage, and in some instances, we are a year ahead of where other cities were.
Yeah, you've said that you've issued executive orders in the rebuilding process, but a year later, less than 15% of the survivors have gotten their building permits to even put up one wall.
Well, no.
Why?
Let me explain that you have thousands of people that have not applied yet. The building process, people's individual circumstances, the challenges they're having with financing, with their banks and their mortgages, but most notably with their insurance. So if someone has not even submitted a plan to rebuild, and by the way, we have about submissions for over 900 homes in terms of people that are ready to go through the process, but the vast majority of people are not ready yet, or for some reason have not started the process. So there isn't anything in the permitting process that has hindered it if they haven't even submitted permits.
Yeah, because people are saying that there's more paperwork than progress. Is there anything else the city can do?
Yeah, but let me just tell you that we have cut the process down by many, many, many months.
Let me ask you this, Mayor.
Sure.
Through an executive order, you directed the city council to waive these permit fees, right?
Yes.
Still not done?
Yes. Let me explain. I think for a lot of people, and you know how complex the city is, there's different powers between the mayor and the city council. So my executive order called on the city council to send me a law that I could sign so that we could waive those fees. While they are working through the nuts and bolts of the law, I suspended the fees. So now there is a concern about how much money it would cost the city, major discrepancy. Now I'm working hand in glove with the council, but that has to come from the council to my desk.
All right, let me ask you about independent reviews and the investigations
Sure.
which are ongoing. They basically praised the firefighters as heroic on the front lines,
Right.
but they did point to systemic failures
Right.
in the city, outdated policies, communication breakdowns, right?
Right.
Flawed alerts, really complicating evacuations and everything. What gaps have you shored up based on those findings?
Well, several of those gaps. For example, they have upgraded the communication system. They are looking at evacuation routes in a better way. And in terms of aggressive prevention and pre-deployment, I can tell you that since the fires, we've had a number of climate and weather emergencies where we're just coming out of one from a couple of weeks ago. And deployments and pre-deployments happened much earlier. Preventive measures, for example, LAPD knocked on over 100 doors telling people to evacuate. Personal touch. Now, I will tell you that no one chose to evacuate, but they did have the information, they did have the routes, so much more aggressive prevention. The other thing, most notably, is changing the leadership and essentially telling the new leader of the fire department that it's his job to evaluate the entire department and especially the leadership of the department and to see what changes he needs to make.
You fired the former chief, as you know, who is litigating. We won't discuss that now. She says it was retaliatory for challenging your leadership and during that crisis. Critics say your budget cuts to the fire department, your absence when the Palisades fire exploded, the slow recovery point to your decisions, right? What is the single most thing you would do differently? What is your biggest regret if you had anything to change?
First of all, I have to correct a couple of the things that you said because the fire department budget was never cut. So that was just not true. Let me explain that when we did the budget, we had resources that we put in another account. Why? Because we were in labor negotiations. When the negotiations were settled, the money went back into the account. You were talking about $17 million of a budget of $800 million. So when you are facing a fire, when you have to make decisions as to whether or not you hold back a shift of 1,000 firefighters, you don't say you have to go home because I think I don't have the money. You say this is an emergency and I don't care about that. I am going to aggressively protect a neighborhood. And so I think, unfortunately, we can get into a debate about why she chose to put that information out there, but it is simply not true.
When you reflect on this past year in your leadership, tasked with all of it that's happened in the last couple of years, but in this last year as well, do you have any regrets?
Absolutely. I regret that I was overseas in a trip that was actually celebrated by the news media a few days before I left. It's not as though I was on vacation. I absolutely regret. And you know, Giselle, I would describe it this way. If you're out of town and a member of your family is sick or hurt, it doesn't matter where you were or why you were there. The point is you weren't there when you were needed. And so, of course, that is a deep regret, a source of pain for me. But I have to face that and move forward, and I have absolutely done that, which is why I have focused on getting Palisadians back at home. I'm proud of the fact that over 400 homes are being built. Over 800 have been approved. We have permit applications for more than 1,300 residents, and we're working day in and day out. The other thing that you should know is lessons that we learned from homelessness and from fast-tracking affordable housing. We have applied some of those lessons in the Palisades. We're coming up with new strategies to expedite building because one of the core issues in our city is the fact that it is so unaffordable now. I think you and I remember when our city was affordable, and one of the biggest drivers of unaffordability is housing. And so we've been able to expedite that. We have over 40,000 units that are being expedited currently. And so I stay focused on my job. I keep my eyes on the prize. There are always detractors. And frankly, when the President of the United States calls you names in the city of Los Angeles, that is not something that I'm going to be frightened of.
Look, you have faced massive criticism.
I
not
have.
just from the survivors, but from rivals in politics, from the White House. And personally, how has this impacted you? You tell me you won't even go to the Palisades in a really present way because people there have been so aggressive against you.
No, I will tell you that I'm in the Palisades frequently, meeting with people in their homes,
But do you feel
talking
that
about
heat,
problems.
and do you feel them blaming you?
No, but let me just tell you that in the grieving process, anger is a key stage of grief. And I know people are angry. Some people are angry. Some people target me with that grief. Frankly, I understand that. I don't take it personally.
Even when they put pictures of your entire family?
Well, that is a specific individual. And I do not believe that he characterizes the people in the Palisades. And I think that that is unfortunate because you can be angry at me, but it is not fair to do that to my children and my grandchildren. But I will tell you that people have been extremely grateful for the progress that has happened. The homes that I was at today, one where I said they're ready to move in May, the other one where it'll be a few months after that, they were celebrating. So I do
But
think,
you have
though,
faced a failed
No,
recall effort, lots of protests.
hold
How
on.
does that criticism impact you personally and how you govern?
Well, first of all, I know what this job is. I know what it is to be an elected official. I know what I signed up for. And so if I can't withstand that, then I'm in the wrong job, and I think I'm in the right job. But let me just say, though, that one thing that I think is most unfortunate is that there are people who deliberately put out misinformation, who are making money off of it, who are profiting off of it. And I think to profit off of others' grief and to say things like nothing's being built or everything is backlogged in City Hall is just simply not true. So it is my job to speak the truth and to speak facts, because so much misinformation, and I think that it's bad to do that, to deliberately prey on people's grief.
I asked you, you're going for 4 more years, another term?
I am.
What milestones would you highlight to convince voters you should serve another 4 years?
I ran on public safety. I ran on homelessness. We have had a record decrease in the amount of homicides. We've decreased gang violence. We have initiated programs to deal with a lot of the drivers of crime prevention. I started the Office of Community Safety. I have a record to run on. I have a record that I am proud of. We have the fastest recovery and rebuilding. But again, I will not be satisfied until every Palisadian that wants to go home is home. So I feel strong about my record and strong about my relationships with Angelenos. And I look forward to the election being over.
Mayor Karen Bass, thank you for coming in on this historic day. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.